Center here at Owen. I am one of the career coaches, and we're excited to welcome you back to our summer prep series for our specialized master's programs. This week, we're going to be talking about resumes, cover letters, and LinkedIn, but today's session is specifically around resumes. So, in the chat box, if you would, please drop in one word to describe yourself. So you have to pick just one word to describe yourself. Outgoing, adventurous, analytical, energetic, diligent, motivated, reliable. Great words. I think mine would be compassionate if I had to pick one for myself. Meryl, adaptable. Ginny, curious. Organized. Motivated, personable. All right, cool. Personable. So we have a lot of people. Friendly. All right, you all are going to have no trouble making friends when you get into the program, it sounds like. Sounds like so many of you all are friendly and personable, outgoing. It's great. Great to hear. So what we're going to talk about today is we're going to do some introductions for those of you that have not gotten to know us yet. We've got several members of our team here, so we'll be introducing ourselves. I'll give a quick highlight or overview of the Career Management Center, as well as what we have covered in the last week through the summer prep series. And then we'll get into the meat of today. So talking about resume format and content, and then we'll have an activity, and then we'll close out the session. So again, I'll start off. My name is Zeke Artiaga. I am the Associate Director and Career Coach here for the Master of Marketing program. I've been with Owen since 2017, but in this role for exactly a year as of yesterday. So excited about that. But before I was in MBA admissions, and prior to that, I was in corporate recruiting prior to being in higher ed. So I will, let's see, I'm looking over at my presentation. I'll go ahead and have Ginny introduce herself.
Sure. Good morning, good afternoon, evening, everyone. My name is Ginny. I'm the primary coach for MS Finance program. I've been at Owen for 2 years. So this will be my third year. Prior to being MSF coach, I was in finance for 14 years.
Thanks, Jenny. Brooke is out this week, but he's the director of specialized master's coaching and also supports the Masters of Data Science and MSF. And I'll say also MMark, especially when I'm out of the office for any reason. He can jump in, and he's got lots of years of work experience with Owen, I think 10 plus at this point, worked at the Career Center on main campus as well. So he's just a breadth of knowledge and a really great guy. Meryl.
Hi, everyone. My name is Meryl Bowman. I'm one of the graduate assistants. So I'll be with you guys over the summer. I just finished my master's over at Peabody in Human and Organizational Development. And before that, I was working in recruiting in primarily engineering and tech sectors. I'm very excited to be here.
All right, thanks, Meryl. Wakath.
Hey everyone, I'm Vikas Heather. I'm currently enrolled in Masters in International Education Policy and Management. Currently, I'm working with CMC as a graduate intern and career coach for Master of Data Science students. And earlier, I was working with Teach for Pakistan, Amal Academy, and running my own nonprofit for past 7 years. So yeah, thank you so much, and excited to see you all here.
All right, thanks, team. So as you can see, we've got a team with lots of experience that's ready to help you all out once you get here and over the course of the summer. All right, so what is our goal to help you advance your career? So that is not only right now while you're in school, but our hope is that we're going to be able to help you build skills that you're going to take with you for the rest of your career. So Our hope is you will learn how to network here. It's going to help you get that internship or that first job. But then you're also going to be able to take those networking skills beyond to help you throughout your career. So how we support you. So at a high level, and I know my MMarks here today have seen this or a version of this, but we have two recruiting platforms that we primarily use. One is called 1220. And so this one is Owen specific. So only students at Vanderbilt who are enrolled at Owen and then the Data Science Institute are able to access this system. The rest of the university uses a system called Handshake. And Handshake, some of you might have used in your undergrad institutions. It's another career system for colleges, and you will have access to both. Handshake will come a little bit later once you're actually on campus, but 1220 you should be able to access now. You have your coaches, many who are on this call. You also have an employer engagement team. And so this team is the external facing team for Owen that manages employer communications, and really manages the relationship with employer partners that are coming to recruit our students for all programs. And some of the resources that we offer, of course, are one-on-one coaching, workshops like this. We have job search groups that we do both in the fall for certain programs and then in the spring for other programs. And then our employer engagement team, as mentioned, handles a lot of the communication, and anytime an employer is on campus, they're really running the show there. So here is our employer relations team. So we have our director, Heather Yaki, and then our assistant director, Emma Duncliffe. And then the nice smiley face is going to be someone who will be joining hopefully in the next few weeks and before you get here on campus in August. So you'll see a third person on that team managing some of the coordinator duties. All right, so I'm going to talk a bit about some of the previous sessions just to give a quick highlight of what we've talked about. So we have this internship and job search pyramid. And so through the summer prep series, we're going to cover a lot of this information, but some of it won't be covered until you're actually here on campus. But what we've covered in the last week has been essentially career exploration, giving you some tools to understand your skill gaps and how you can start to address those, and then also talking about your story and plan. And all of these things feed into your resume. So kind of understanding where you're going, what you want to do is going to help you tailor your resume, figure out what experiences you need to be putting on your resume. And really, you'll see how this all builds as you go through this process. So I'm not going to cover obviously everything that we talked about last week, but I want to cover a few things. And one is this tool that we use for career exploration that I think is going to be important across programs. So this is our FIG tool, which stands for Function, Industry, and Geography. So no matter if you really know what you want to do or if you're still in exploratory mode, this is a great way to set up what you think you want to do functionally, what industries you're interested in, and what geographies you're also interested in. Typically, one of these things will take priority for you, and that can change as you go through the course of the academic year. You will meet people, whether it be alumni or folks in industry who you're networking with, that might influence the path that you take. You may fall in love and decide, oh, I need to stay in Nashville because my partner, my girlfriend, my boyfriend is here. So those are things just to consider. I also want you to start thinking about plan B. It's important to think about that. Life can throw us curveballs. Sometimes you think you're going to go in a certain direction. Life can happen. And so going through this exercise can also help you think about what is your plan B or even your plan C if needed. Another way to explore and see what path you could take is through our student employment lists. So this list is on 1220. I'll tell you exactly where to find it, but you'll have this link once you get the slides. But in this list, you will see all of our specialized master's programs and the places where students have gone to intern, and then the places where students have gone to work full time. So this can give you an idea of industries and specific companies where our students have gone. So where to find this information is in 1220. And if you haven't been in there too much, if you log in, you'll see on the menu bar on the left a resource library. I would encourage you to peruse through all the different folders and kind of just like play around and see what's there. But if you need to find something quickly, please use that search bar. It comes in handy. So if you were in there right now and just typed in student employment, you'd very quickly pull up the employment list that I just showed you. So definitely use that search bar when needed, but feel free to navigate and kind of look around in 1220. Another tool that we introduced was this gap analysis tool. So great tool as you think about the jobs that you want to go into. It's a fun exercise to pull up a job description or a couple from different companies and see, are you meeting those qualifications or not, and really writing that out. So are you meeting the academic qualifications? Are you meeting specific skills or technical skills qualifications? And if you are, being able to tell why you are meeting those qualifications. And if you're not, it's realizing what is that skill gap and how am I going to address that during the program that I'm in at Owen. So definitely look at that. And then the last thing I'll talk about from last week is a framework for telling your story. So this is with regards to past, present, future. So really talking about where you were before. And so think about your undergrad experience and how that got you to where you're at today with your specialized master's. So how did you get here to Vanderbilt and Owen? And then thinking about what's next for you. Where do you want to go next? What is that intention for your future? And so we have a worksheet here that's on a Google Doc that you can work through to help you find specific experiences that you can tell in this story with regards to past, present, and future. All right, so again, this covers just some highlights of things that I wanted to talk about with regards to last week's content. But please feel free to review any of the slides that Brooke has sent out. And if anyone doesn't have that information, please feel free to let us know and we can make sure that you get it. So again, this week we're going to cover resumes today, obviously, LinkedIn and cover letters, but you see there's a lot of other things on our pyramid. Some things that we'll get to over the course of the summer, some things that you'll have to wait once you're here. And trust me, it's a lot of information. So definitely, I hope you don't feel overwhelmed, but just know that we are here for you. We are here to support you as you go through this process. All right, so resume format. So this is where I want to start. And let me pull up a quick poll. Actually, there we go. All right, so the poll that I have for you all is, what do you believe is the single most important factor in recruiting? And the options are, I'll just read them out. Resume, cover letter, networking, interviewing, technical skills, or job knowledge. All right. Got 68% of you have answered. All right, I'm going to end this poll and share the results. All right, so 44% said networking, 33% resume, and 22% said interview. So no one picked cover letter or technical skills or job knowledge. So that's interesting. I will say, yes, networking is definitely important, but all these things work together. So there's really no right or wrong answer here. Kind of thinking about my experience as a former corporate recruiter, networking is important. Who you know, getting to know them to see if they'll be an advocate for you at the organization that they're working at is really important. But one tool that you're going to use, or actually a couple of tools that you're going to use, are your resume, potentially a cover letter, and then just being able to actually tell your story, right? So it kind of fits into the interviewing. Even when you're networking, you're interviewing a little bit in that sense. And then you have to have some technical skills and job knowledge in order to qualify. So all of these things are important, but I think it's very, very fair to say that networking is really going to set you apart, especially in the current market that we're in as well. Do my colleagues have anything that they want to add here? No? Okay.
No, I think part of the networking is that you have your story right and you have the resume ready. So it all builds up to that one action.
Yeah, absolutely. Ross, I'm just seeing your.
Here's your paper bag you were looking for.
Yeah. Very good. Ross, I'm just now reading your comment. Feel like this may be a trick question. It was not.
It's the topic's resume, so I was like, I gotta pick resume.
It was a trick question, I guess. All right, so to talk about some of the characteristics for a resume and the format, at least within the context and lens of Owen specifically. Your resume should be one page. It should have no errors on it, and it should have consistent formatting. And so we have a number of templates that we use in order to help you with that. But to go back first to the one page, I want you all to start thinking about your resume less about every single thing that you've done. It's nice to have a version of that. And I would encourage you to have a version of that that can run into 2 or 3 pages with every experience. But when you're actually applying to something or sending your resume to someone you're going to network with, it really needs to be one page. So think about it as really tailoring and curating your experiences for a specific position or a specific audience. So this is like your one pager. This is your brand. So I just really, really, really want to highlight that you need to curate this down to one page, but it's okay to have something that has everything. So you can kind of copy and paste and pull and choose. And I know I talked to at least the MArcs about this, but for the other programs, there's a great career platform called Teal, that's TEAL, that allows you to kind of pick and choose different bullet points and experiences, and it has an output and it creates a nice, simple, clean resume. So encourage you to look at that, as that may help really curate your resume to a specific audience. I think the errors piece is pretty straightforward. Make sure you're using spell check, checking your grammar. And to talk a little bit more about the resume template. So everyone has access to a specific resume template in 1220, so each program. There may be some nuances with the template depending on your program. So just make sure that you're looking at your specific program's template. And to show you at least what one of these looks like. So this is the data science template. So all of these will be in Microsoft Word. And we encourage you to use that, especially as you're making edits, sending it to your coach for feedback or edits. Make sure you're using Microsoft Word. I think most of us are on a PC, whether that's fortunate or unfortunate. But I can't open pages. Sometimes even when you transfer this over to Google Doc, the formatting can get funky. So encourage you to really use MS Word to make changes, as that is what the document is originally in. The goal of the template, there's a few things around it. I think first and foremost, they're all going to look pretty similar. So if I go back to when I was a recruiter, it's so nice to be able to look at a resume, and it doesn't matter what program I'm looking at, or it doesn't matter if I'm looking at 15 resumes from the same program. I know exactly where to look for the information. I know education is always going to be on the top. I know where the experience section is. I know where the leadership or athletic experience is. It's really easy for me to scan lots of people pretty quickly. And so having it in a clean, simple format is really important for the audience. I think for you as well, having a template where you can plug in experiences and have just some guidance. As you're reading through this template that you see on the screen, you'll see that we provide guidance for some of the bullets or for really all of the bullets. So that said, it takes a lot of the guesswork out of should I include this or should I not include this? You still may have questions, and that's why the coaching team is here is to help you through that. But hopefully this will get you started and just be an efficient way for you to have a nice one-pager that you'll be able to use quickly as you get started here at Vanderbilt. You also see on the side, Brooke has added comments to this particular resume. And again, that's why we want you to use Word so we can add in those comments and track changes pretty easily. Anything that my colleagues want to add with regards to resume template? No, all right. So a few more things. So we talked about the first three and the actual template itself. Another thing that's going to be important is removing file metadata. And so for the MMARCs on the call, I know I talked about this last week a little bit, but metadata is essentially the properties of a file. And when you take the Owen template, for example, or you have your own license for Word or PDF or Adobe on your computer, sometimes things can show up once you save and send it out. So that could be changes tracked, it could be the author or owner of the license. And if you don't remove those properties, sometimes they can show up when you don't want them to. And so we've seen that on our end where we've made changes, you have made the updates, but you forget to save it in a version that is not showing track changes for some reason. And when you upload that PDF to 1220, suddenly the employer sees all of my comments, all of Jenny's comments, and it's just not a good look. So you want to make sure that you're removing that file metadata. And so I think Meryl has dropped a link for that in the chat. It's also in 1220, and when you get these slides, you'll have a link to that as well. So I know I've been talking a lot about Microsoft Word, but when you do have a final product that you're going to send out, we recommend that you send that in PDF format. So I know 1220 will require that for our resume book, or if putting it on your profile or dropping a resume for a particular employer, you do need to do that in PDF format. And I would also say it's just safer in general when you are going to send your resume out to someone that you're networking with or meeting with. The only exception is if you're asking for feedback. Definitely send in Word. If you have a mentor or someone in the industry that you want them to make some comments on your resume, feel free to send that in Word. Otherwise, always go with PDF. And what we're going to talk about next are just bullet points, and those bullet points being impactful. So we're going to talk about that here in a sec. But any questions on this before I move forward? Pretty straightforward, right? All right, so resume bullets. So this comes from an author named Steve Dalton, former career coach at Duke. He's now running his own business, author, great guy. So he broke this down into what a basic resume could look like, a good resume, and a great resume. For all three, they need to be error-free. But then where it starts to change is the bullets. And I think what myself and my team and our team see a lot is that a lot of people just copy and paste bullet points from a job description. And that's great. It does tell us like what you were responsible for, but it doesn't tell us anything about impact or really give us any quantitative information around the role that you were in. And so a good resume is going to start to include some of that information. It's going to talk about maybe budgets that you handled, maybe the size of the team that you were working with. You may actually start to talk a little bit about impact in a good resume. In a great resume, you're going to include all of that quantifiable information. as well as always providing what the results were or impact. So we'll show you an example now. So here's an example of a bullet point that just kind of got better. Even the basic one, I'm like, at least they included the $400 million budget. So that's actually pretty good. And the good bullet, they talked about actually analyzing advertising channels. So that's telling us a little bit more than just being responsible for something. They still talk about the marketing budget, which is great. And then the great resume, they use two really solid verbs. So evaluated and optimized, and then really gave impact. So they talked about impacting sales and the percentage there. You won't be able to do this for everything, and that's okay. But the idea is to hopefully try and get you there, or start thinking about your experiences and how you can quantify them. So one way to do that and to start thinking about your bullet points is using this PAR framework. So this stands for project, action, and result. And so it's identifying a specific project that you've been working on. What action did you specifically take within that project? So it may be a team project, but you want to talk about what you actually did. And maybe the impact or the result can be what you and your team accomplished within that project. So using this framework might help you get from a basic bullet, a basic resume to a good and great resume. So some guidelines for this particular framework. You'll always want to begin with a powerful past tense action verb. So the previous slides talked about analyzed, optimized, you can say, manage, you can say led, orchestrated. So a lot of verbs, and we have some resources for you in 1220 with regards to that. You want to keep your bullets to 2 to 3 lines. I know some of you are like, wait, I thought just 1 line. It's hard to tell that story in 1 line. So at least from our perspective, 2 to 3 lines is okay. You'll want to avoid personal pronouns and then include experiences that are transferable. So any opportunities to talk about collaboration, attention to detail, you taking initiative, those are things that are transferable to a lot of different functions and industries. So here's an example. So this bullet said, manage 15 to 20 volunteer teams for a financial literacy seminar. So pretty vague. They at least gave the size of the team. So that's good. But look at the third one, or the using the PAR example. It has 3 great verbs. They managed, trained, and motivated teams of 15 to 20 volunteers for a major financial literacy campaign, resulting in a 40% increase in seminar enrollment. You don't always have to use 3 action verbs like this, but hopefully this is getting you to think about your resume, how you can look at some of your bullet points, and where maybe you can add some depth to some of your bullet points. So if, for example, you were a counselor, talk about like how old the kids were, how many kids you were managing, did you build their confidence over the course of the summer? Think of things like that. So even though maybe it's not super quantifiable, you can still add things that you have done. Does my team want to add anything here? No? Okay. So again, just to review, you'll want your resume to be 1 page, error-free, have consistent formatting. So definitely use the Owen template. You will want to remove file metadata for any of your final products that you're sharing via PDF. Share in PDF format unless you're making changes. Then I would suggest sharing in Word. And then use that PAR framework to improve your bullet points to show impact and results when you can. Any questions on resume format? All right. So content. So this is more around where are you using your resume? What is it doing for you? What should I include? And first I want to talk about where our resume is valuable. So we all know that you use them for applications, but you also use them for all of these other different things. So we had earlier talked about networking. You're going to use these at career fairs. You're going to use these for your applications that you drop here at Vanderbilt, obviously for interviews. So resumes are an important tool in a variety of places. So I also want to talk about like the other end, like the other side of the table, like what are recruiters and companies doing with your resume? And hopefully it'll give you some insight into one, some of our guidance, but two, hopefully this will help you think about what you're putting on your resume as well. And so to talk about the recruiting funnel, so once you apply, you can see what the funnel looks like here. You apply, you get screened, either by AI or by human eyes. You are qualified based on that screening. Do you meet the recommendation or the qualifications to move forward to an interview? You're interviewed, an offer is extended after the interview process, and then positions are filled. And you can see through these numbers, not everyone actually takes an offer, but many, many do. This process back in 2015 took 34 days. I was curious to see if that average has gone up, just based on what I was seeing. And according to the Society of Human Resources Management, the average right now is 43 days. But what's interesting is you will use your resume throughout this entire process. And so even when you get hired, sometimes the employer will have to run a background check and they'll still be using your resume then. So really important tool. So I want to talk about what an ATS is. Does anyone know what that stands for? You can drop it in the chat or come off mute. All right, so it is an applicant tracking system. So think of it as like a customer relationship management tool that HR and recruiting uses for their specific function. And so when you are applying to a job, typically at a larger organization, you are going to the careers website, you're creating some type of profile, dropping your resume and applying to specific jobs. And it usually feeds into a system like this, like JobVite. This one here that just popped up is called Workday. When I was working at Google, they had their own proprietary applicant tracking system, ATS, but there's a lot of different ones. And unfortunately for you all, you're going to be navigating different ones. What they all have in common, though, is that they like to read clean, simple resumes. So having anything that's too creative with big graphics or chunks or blocks of color, these systems don't like that. You really want to use the Owen template or something very similar to the Owen template that these systems can actually read. Keywords are important, and we're going to talk a bit about that, but these systems will pick up keywords on your resume and for the job description that they're screening for to pick candidates that are going to go to the top for a recruiter. And then here you can even see in Workday kind of the funnel. So they've got some people in resume review. And if you look over to the right, you see there's a number 2, and those 2 people are getting background checks. So clearly this position has several openings for the one position. So that's a little bit about an ATS. And the reason we bring this up is we just want you to understand like where your resume is going, understand how the employer thinks, understand how some of this technology works. So I talked about skills and keywords previously. And so we really want you to start thinking about that and thinking about tools that you can use to essentially add more specific experiences or skills to your resume. And so that gap analysis activity that I talked about earlier could be a great way to do that. And a very reflective way to do that. But if you want to work more efficiently, you can also use some of the AI tools that currently exist on the market for this. So one of them is JobScan. JobScan is a tool that you can sign up for free. You get 2 or 3 opportunities to upload your resume and a job to see if the match is there. But essentially, it will give you an overall match rate based on what you're presenting in your resume and what is required of the job. But more importantly, it'll give you actually specific keywords that are in the job compared to what's on your resume. And so if you have any red X's there, those are things that you can either try to add in if you've actually done those things. So in this case, I want to say this was like a software developer. In this case, this person has experience with Android, but not so much with iPhone. So if they have worked with iPhone, they would want to put that on there. There's a couple of yellow words, operational analysis, agile software development, that if the person has not done those things, that may be something that they want to work on to kind of fill those gaps so they can add that to their resume. That's JobScan. Teal is another platform that does this as well. So Teal has a lot of different functionality. And so one piece is the resume builder, which I had mentioned earlier. This is my resume in here for a marketing coordinator role. Guess what, y'all? I'm not a marketer. 22%. So that is not good. So I need to work on my resume to be a marketing coordinator. But the free version of this, you get just some words that you can kind of target and add. So my resume is missing the word social media. That would help improve my resume for this specific job. If I wanted to pay for Teal and get all the words, I could do that. But I think the free version is more than enough because you can use ChatGPT or Vanderbilt.ai when you're on campus to help kind of fill in those gaps. So definitely think about using ChatGPT as well, where you can plug in your resume without your contact info, I would say, and then the job description, and ask ChatGPT to give you the top 10 key skills or words from the job description, and is your resume meeting those skills? And if not, what's missing? So definitely think about using AI when you can, but I would encourage you all to also do that gap analysis just to give you some time to reflect as well. I'm not going to go over this, but you will get these slides. And so you can look at some of these AI prompts if you're not sure how to write an AI prompt, but we have some good guidance here that will hopefully get you started in case you want to use AI to help you build your resume. So I want to go into the group exercise now. So I want you all to think like a recruiter. And so what we're going to do is, well, what I should say is you've been hired by Mattel, the toy company, and you need to hire someone. And so what I'm going to give you first, I'm going to drop this in the chat, is some instructions. Rather, there's going to be instructions, but I don't want you to really pay attention to the instructions right now. I want you to more look at the job description, which is the second page of the PDF that I just dropped. So you're going to see a job description there, and I want you to review that particular job description because you're going to be hiring an MBA intern. And you're going to get resume shortly, but I want each of you to take a couple of minutes to review that job description, write down, make sure rather that you're noting what the qualifications are, and then we'll move into the next part where you're going to review some resumes. And if anyone has questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. I'll give you about 30 more seconds. All right, so I hope everyone had time to review that job description. So what we're going to do next is actually have you review 6 resumes. And so I'm going to drop those in the chat in just a second for you to look at. And you'll have 3 minutes to look at those resumes. My hope is that you'll appreciate that the format's the same, that they're 1 page, because you only have really about 30 seconds per resume, and that's even generous, as most recruiters maybe spend 10 to 15 seconds, if not even less, on some resumes. So I'm going to drop those in the chat now, and I want each of you to review those individually, and then we're going to get into some groups. And I will say these are all real resumes from former Owen MBA students. We've just removed their contact information, but these are definitely real resumes. You have about 30 seconds left.